Okay, so a couple of months back, I bought a desk lamp. Nice one. Minimal, black, looked great. And then I looked at my mousepad. It looked disgusting next to it. So I replaced it. Then the new mousepad made my keyboard look cheap. So I replaced that. Then the keyboard made my whole desk look unbalanced. And I started browsing monitor arms. All of this from a lamp. Turns out there's a name for this. A philosopher figured it out 250 years ago, and it financially ruined him. Denis Diderot, French philosopher, 1700s. This guy co-created the encyclopedia, basically the Wikipedia of its time. Massive achievement. But the man was broke, like couldn't afford a dowry for his daughter levels of broke. Then Catherine the Great stepped in, the Empress of Russia. She bought his entire personal library, 15,000 livres, huge sum, and hired him as the librarian of his own collection. So Diderot suddenly has money for the first time ever, and somewhere in there he gets a beautiful scarlet dressing gown, luxurious, high quality, the nicest thing he'd ever owned. He puts it on, looks around his study, and everything else feels wrong. The straw chair he'd sit in for years, junk. His all this, not good enough. Prints on the wall, the rug, the curtain, replaced all of it. One gown, one purchase, and it triggered a spiral that put him back in debt. He wrote an essay about it. Regrets on parting with my old dressing gown. Basically said I was happy before. Everything I owned was fine. Then this one beautiful thing made me a slave to upgrading everything around. That essay sat around for about 220 years, until a Canadian anthropologist named Grant McCarran read it in 1980s and went, "This isn't just a personal story, this is a pattern." He called it the Diderot Effect. So here's what's actually happening in your brain. Your possessions aren't random. You don't just buy stuff. You buy things that fit a story about who you are. Think about someone into minimalism. Clean apartment, neutral clothes, 3 things on the desk. Everything matches. Everything says, I'm a minimalist. Now imagine giving that person a bright red gaming chair. It would drive them crazy. Not because the chair is bad, because it breaks the story. Psychologists call this identity-congruent consumption. Your stuff is evidence. Your brain uses it to prove who you are to yourself. And when you introduce one new thing that's a level above everything else, your brain goes, this doesn't match. This story is broken. Fix it. That's not a want, that's closer to a need. Same cognitive dissonance you feel when you say one thing and do another. Your brain can't sit with this inconsistency. So you upgrade the next thing, and then next, and then next, until everything matches the new standard that one purchase set. Now, here's why it gets kinda gross. Brands don't just know about this, they have built entire business model around triggering it. Apple is the obvious one. You buy an iPhone, your old wired earbuds look silly next to it. AirPods, then your laptop feels slow, MacBook. Your Apple Watch doesn't sync. Apple doesn't hard sell you on each product. They sell you one and let your brain sell you the rest. CIRP research puts their ecosystem retention at 90 to 93%. Meaning, buy one Apple device, 9 in 10 chance you buy another. That's not loyalty. That's the Diderot Effect with $1 trillion budget behind it. Then there's IKEA. Honestly, maybe the most elegant Diderot trigger ever designed. You walk in for a bookshelf, but they don't show you a bookshelf. They show you perfect living room with the bookshelf in it. Coordinated colors, matching furniture, little decorative touches, the whole vibe. And suddenly your actual living room feels off. Nothing changed. You just saw what it could look like. The gap between what you have and what you saw, that's the trigger. You came in for one thing, left with six. Fashion works the same way. Zara doesn't sell you a jacket. They sell you the jacket, the pants, the shoes, the bag, all displayed together as one look. So buying just the jacket feels incomplete. But okay, the part that gets me is why this is so hard to resist. Like, you know, you don't need a new desk setup because of a lamp, so why does it feel so real? Two reasons, and this stack. First, your brain treats positions as part of your identity, not metaphorically. Actually, research in the Journal of Consumer Research shows people experience genuine discomfort when the items don't match their self-concept. It's not vanity, it's wiring. When one thing is nicer than everything else, your brain reads that as my identity is inconsistent. And your brain hates inconsistency. It will spend money, time, energy to fix it. Second, the hedonic adoption. That rush from the new purchase, it fades gradually over days to a couple of weeks. The shine wears off, so your brain scans for the next thing, and the Diderot Effect gives it a target. Look, your old stuff doesn't match, replace that, you'll feel it gain. One force pushing towards consistency, another pushing toward novelty. Together, a consumption loop that willpower alone cannot beat. So what do you do about this? I'm not gonna say stop buying things, that's not realistic. But a few things genuinely help once you understand the mechanism. First, notice the trigger. The Diderot Effect always starts with one purchase above your current baseline. Before you buy it, ask yourself, am I ready for the chain reaction? Because your brain is going to want one. Second, be careful with curated environments. IKEA showrooms, Instagram flat lays, YouTube setup tours. They are all Diderot triggers, designed to show you a complete life so yours feels incomplete. Third, if you already feel the pull, wait, give it a couple of weeks. Let the excitement settle. The urgency to replace everything usually fades once the novelty normalizes. Fourth, anchor your identity outside of stuff. Because as long as your brain uses possessions as proof of who you are, you're always one purchase away from a spiral. Diderot wrote that essay in 1769. A brilliant man warning people, don't do what I did. I was happier before. 250 years later, the biggest companies on the planet read the same warning and thought, how do we make everyone do this? Next time you buy something nice and everything else looks a little worse, that's not you being picky. That's a 250-year-old pattern running exactly as designed. If you want more like this, follow and subscribe. We break down how brands, pricing, and psychology shape every decision you make.